Learning objectives. At the end of this topic, you will be able to describe about fibers, comprehend plant fibers and their uses, understand about spinning cotton yarn and the ways by which fabrics are made from yarns, recall the history of clothing material. Clothes remain as basic part of our life. They protect our body from various weather conditions and keep our body clean. Have you ever touched different types of clothes? Some clothes may be soft and some are rough, and this difference is due to the kind of fabric used. The clothes that we wear are generally made from fabrics. Different fabrics will have different feel. Do you know what our ancestors wore before fabrics? Variety in fabrics. Anirudh wanted to donate his old clothes for an orphanage, so he opened his shelf to check for the good clothes. At last he found 3 good ones: a cotton shirt, a woolen scarf, and a few jute mats. When touching each cloth, he could find a different feel for different cloth. So he came rushing to his mother to clear his doubts. Annie, what happened? Is anything wrong?
No, Mom. Look at these clothes. When I touch my scarf, it is soft. And when I touch my shirt, it is very rough. Why am I feeling this difference?
They're made of different fabrics.
Fabric? What does that mean?
Okay, now tell me, what are these clothes made of?
This is a woolen scarf, so this is made of wool. This is my cotton shirt. It's made of cotton. And finally, this is a jute mat, made of jute.
So as you referred, we call all these, that is cotton, jute and wool, as fabrics. When touching each cloth, he could find a different feel for different cloth. So he came rushing to his dad to clear his doubts. Yarns and fibers.
Okay, Mom. Now tell me, how do we get these clothes from these fabrics?
Yes, sure, Annie. Now look at this t-shirt. It looks as a continuous piece when looking from far. When it's observed using a magnifying lens, crisscross patterns of the threads are observed. This pattern is maintained in order to produce the stiffness to the fabric. Let's tear a piece of cloth from the shirt and look at its edges. We'll find the strings of the thread at the edges, and when you pull it out, the individual threads that are obtained are called as yarns. A yarn is taken where one end of the yarn is kept on hold and the other end is scratched. You would find a thin strand-like structure, and these are called as fibers. Have you ever tried threading a needle? While threading a needle, many a times the end of the threads get separated into thin strands. We refer to this as a fiber.
Okay, Mom. What are the different types of fibers we use?
Basically, we have 3 types of fibers: plant fibers, animal fibers, synthetic fibers. Plant fibers. The fibers like cotton, jute are obtained from the plants. Animal fibers. The fibers like wool and silk are obtained from animals. Wool is obtained from the fleece of sheep, hairs of rabbit, yak, and camel. Silk is obtained from the cocoons of silkworms. Synthetic fibers. The fibers that are obtained from the chemical substances other than plant and animal sources are referred to as synthetic fibers. The examples of synthetic fibers generally include nylon, polyester, and acrylic. Plant fibers. So, Annie, did you get to know where we get these fibers from?
Yes, Mom.
Okay, now let me explain certain plant fibers. Cotton. As I already told you, we get cotton from cotton plants. These cotton plants grow in black soil with warm climate. The fruits of cotton plants are referred to as cotton bolls, which burst open after maturing. The cotton bolls are picked manually by hand. As a final step, cotton is separated from its seeds by combing, and hence this process is referred to as ginning. Ginning can be done either manually or using machines. Jute. Jute fiber is obtained from the stem of jute plants. Rainy season is opted to grow them. Jute plants are harvested during the flowering stage. The harvested jute stems are soaked in water for a few days. Once the stems rot, the fibers are extracted using hands. In India, jute cultivation is predominant in Bihar, Assam, and West Bengal. Spinning cotton yarn.
Okay, Mom. We get cotton fiber from a cotton plant and jute from a jute plant. But how do we get yarns from these fibers?
In order to get yarns, fibers are made to undergo spinning.
Spinning? What is that?
The process of converting fibers to yarn is referred to as spinning. In order to produce a cotton yarn, a bunch of cotton wool is collected and twisted to hold all the fibers in the form of a yarn. Spinning can be done manually using takli or using a charkha. Spinning machines are used in order to spin the yarns in large scale. Yarn to fabric.
Mom, so far you told me where we get fibers from and how it's converted to a yarn. Finally, tell me how we make yarn as a fabric.
A yarn can be converted into fabric by two methods. They are weaving and knitting. Weaving. The arrangement of two sets of yarns to make a fabric is referred to as weaving. In weaving, two separate sets of yarns are interlocked at right angles to one another to produce a fabric. Weaving is done using looms. The looms can either be manual or power looms. Knitting. In case of knitting, a single yarn is used to produce a piece of fabric. Here, two big needles are used to make loops for framing a fabric. Have you ever tried to pull out a string of an old socks? When we try to take out a single strand from a torn socks, we find that a single yarn gets pulled out continuously. Where it is like there is no end to it, this is because they're made of a single yarn. History of clothing material. Annie, have your doubts got cleared by now? Or do you have any more?
Yes, Mom. Now everything is fine with me.
Before I finish, I also wanted to add some more things. At present, different clothes with different styles are worn according to the occasions. Have you ever wondered what our ancestors wore when different clothes and different fabrics were not available? During summer, they used grasses, huge leaves, and barks to cover themselves to adapt to the hot conditions. Similarly, during the cold season, they used animal skins and furs in order to overcome the chilliness. Due to the development of agriculture, they learned to cultivate plants like cotton. As days moved on, they learned to weave with the help of leaves and twigs by involving themselves in mats, basket making. Using cotton and animal fleece, they made thread-like structures called strands and started weaving, which led to the formation of fabrics. Cotton in India and flax in Egypt were the first set of fabrics worn by human beings. Stitching was a mystery to people, so they did not use the weave cloth in any form or in any shape. They simply covered their body parts with the help of plain clothes. The invention of needle changed the fashion world upside down. Sewing needle made of bones and ivory was used initially, and slowly people started stitching the fabrics in different forms and shapes and wore it. Summary. Let's summarize the topic. A fabric is made up of a thin thread-like structure called as yarn. Yarns are in turn made of fine units called fibers. Fibers are of three types: plant fibers, animal fibers, and synthetic fibers. The fibers like cotton, jute are obtained from the plants. The fibers like wool and silk are obtained from the animals. The fibers that are obtained from chemical substances other than plant and animal sources are referred to as synthetic fibers. Cotton is separated from its seeds by combining, and hence this process is referred to as ginning. Jute fiber is obtained from the stem of jute plants. Rainy season is opted to grow them. The process of converting cotton fibers to a yarn is referred to as spinning. The arrangement of two sets of yarns to make a fabric is referred to as weaving. In case of knitting, a single yarn is used to produce a piece of fabric.